All right, I'm going to show you SIFT Toolbox. It's going to change. It's going to change your life. So first things first, if you just want the code, if you just want the prompt, if you just want to play around, you can go to this site, checkplease.neocities.org, get into this little box here, Control A, Control C, paste that into Gemini, paste that into ChatGPT, paste that into Claude. Or if you want, you can watch us play around with this today. So first things first, let's look at Claude. This is without any of our code. Just how does Claude answer this question? Was the snow in Wizard of Oz made of asbestos? All right. We put that in there. Claude thinks for a bit. It says recalls some early blah blah blah. And then it answers yes, right? It answers yes, the snow in Wizard of Oz was indeed made of asbestos. And it's better than it used to be. Like there are some sources here, right? There are links. Something from Atlas Obscura, right? Something from North Star Environmental, which is odd. Mesothelioma, okay. Dangerous asbestos, yeah, okay. So there's links in there, right? And there's an answer, but I am unsatisfied. It's a Star Trek computer answer. You ask this question and it says yes, right? And it gives you the answer. And for me, this is what I call an information smoothie. Like someone's put all the stuff in, they've blended it up, they poured it in a cup, and they're like, here you go, drink. I don't want the smoothie. I want the fruit. I want the vegetables before they go in the blender. So this is my solution to that. It's a prompt. You can go, I use Claude. Claude tends not to hallucinate links. That's primarily why. I upload that prompt, and you'll see it's going to act differently. It's still going to give answers, but it's not going to be blended into this really smooth, coherent format. So we put, was the snow in Wizard of Oz made of asbestos? And thinks for a bit. And what you'll see is it's going to break down different claims, right? It's going to break down different claims, and it's going to link the position on claims to sources. And so if we look at this, generated May 15th, 2025. If we look at the verified facts table, the snow in Wizard of Oz was, let's move it up here, made of asbestos. It says yeah. And then it gives us a link for the white asbestos, and the link is Atlas Obscura, right? We go to Atlas Obscura, we can look at that. Asbestos snow used in the poppy scene. Other parts of the movie also contain asbestos. Asbestos was used in other films of that era. And then if we go down here, errors and corrections. This isn't something we said, but it is something it sees as a common misconception. It's a Wonderful Life used asbestos snow as well. It says that's incorrect. And it gives us a link here. It says, It's a Wonderful Life actually used a mixture of fomite from fire extinguishers? And then it does a clarification here, right? Yes on Wizard of Oz, no on It's a Wonderful Life. But I gotta say, when we're looking at the sources that have come up here, it's a little fishy, right? This is a law firm that does asbestos litigation. This is a mesothelioma site, which is great. Advocacy for that is great, but for this question, that's Snopes, that's MovieWeb, has Smithsonian Magazine, which that should be highly reliable, right? But we're gonna do a thing called another round here. I want to show you how this is in the prompt. It's just right here, right? It says, when prompted for another round, find, if possible, one source that conflicts with majority view, one source that supports majority view, one source with a completely different answer, right? And the idea here is that we try to avoid tunnel vision, right? We try to find the things that we haven't found yet so that we don't get locked in to our first search and our first thoughts, right? We try to broaden our perspective. We try to find the perspectives we're not seeing. So we're going to go and we're going to type in another round, and we'll trigger that part of the prompt. Say another round on whether it was really asbestos, right? And it's going to think a little bit here. And it's going to do a little search. It's going to look for various things. It's going to look for do a general search. It's going to look for search in the web, scientific analysis, primary source evidence. going to try to find different sorts of evidence, different sorts of sources. And again, we built this into the prompt so that we don't get tunnel vision. And what do we see now? We see Wikipedia confirms asbestos was used. Asbestos, some of the effects. Dorothy as she sleeps in the poppies. Okay, Wikipedia. Wikipedia can be useful. We've got some sources here. Fake snow. One of the sources is a book on asbestos. One of the things is the Smithsonian article that we've already seen. So that's useful. But notice it's a little different, right? It's not saying yes anymore. It's saying much more limited things. Asbestos was commonly used. Wicked Witch's broom contained asbestos. And here in the error in corrections, we have the snow in the Wizard of Oz was 100% pure asbestos, and it's unable to substantiate. It's no longer yes. It says, while many sources claim that snow was pure asbestos, a History.com article references MGM makeup artist Charles Schramm, who distinctly recalled the artificial snowflakes were created using crushed gypsum. And then it looks and says, other types of evidence, there's not really anything, right? There's no record, no documentation. There's no physical evidence, no scientific analysis. It's got a little CSI there. We're going to go get the fibers from the Cowardly Lion and find out if they had asbestos or something. But the point here is we can have personal testimony from Charles Schramm, right? And then we don't really have other types of evidence. There's not really other types of evidence on this. And by the way, I don't know if you know who Charles Schramm is, but Charles Schramm is not just some ordinary schlub. He did the Cowardly Lion makeup famously for that. And you know what's on the other end of his career? He did the makeup in Michael Jackson's Thriller. Like, I just want you, this is a little detour. Just imagine that life. Imagine that life, man. All right, Charles Schramm remembers this. He picked them out between takes, right? And there were like 17 takes in that poppy field. So what's the situation here? We have a conflicting primary source account that says it might be gypsum from Charles Schramm, right? There's no other documentation, right? So what we got to do here, sources table. Let's look at all our sources together and see what it looks like. And this is, I think of this as like the sources table is, you remember, you used to go into the library with index cards. I'm really old. And you would write the title on each, right? And then you'd write, what is the evidence that it's bringing, right? What's the evidence that you get from that source? And this is sort of like that, right? And so from Wikipedia, it's a secondary source. It's useful, right? We do get, it does seem to find that, and then it has a couple sources in there. History.com, we have Charles Schramm. Snopes, actually, when we look at what Snopes says, Snopes says, we don't actually know. It says probably, may actually, but admits they don't find any definitive proof. MovieWeb is just a secondary source based off everything else. And then some of these are weird, right? This is written by an asbestos litigation law firm. They're not going to write something on it being gypsum. They're an asbestos litigation law firm. They're not going to just have an article on, no, actually it was gypsum. You don't turn on your TV and mesothelioma is horrible. Asbestos is horrible. Don't turn on your TV and see lawsuits for gypsum. Same thing here. North Star Environmental. And then we have this, right? We have Charles Schramm. So it's starting to get really interesting here, right? It's starting to get really interesting. And we're seeing a different sort of breakdown. So now we're going to do something called Read the Room. Now, Read the Room is something I built in here, like the other prompt. You can go down. All of this stuff we're doing is here in the prompt somewhere. And Read the Room just takes a piece of this book I wrote with Sam Weinberg that talks about how to understand the structure of expert opinion. And it just kind of says, hey, Breakdown, it tells the LLM how to do that. And when you do that, you see that there are competing theories. This is something that comes from our book. That there's two theories, and they break down a little differently. The asbestos theory, widely reported, numerous secondary sources, dominant narrative in online discussions and popular media, right? Dominant narrative in online discussions and popular media. So the asbestos theory, widely reported across those. Gypsum theory, supported by film historian William Stillman, who cites MGM makeup artist Charles Schramm's first-hand account. Schramm, who actually worked on the film and was responsible for the Cowardly Lion makeup, and the mane, which he says he had to pick out the gypsum flakes in between takes, and there were like I think like 17 takes, 14 takes of that poppy field scene, just picking them out in between each take. He recalls it being gypsum. And I don't know, it's Charles Schramm, right? And I think that, I don't know. I think when I put these two things together, leaning towards Charles Schramm, majority position leans towards asbestos. Minority position has stronger primary evidence, though, right? And then the fact checkers, when we look more closely at the fact checkers acknowledge the uncertainty, right? Now, this part here, the factors shaping discourse, this is just something that Claude started doing. It's kind of cool. Like, commercial interests are shaping this, right? There's a lot of commercial interest. There's not a lot of commercial interest in, like, gypsum litigation, right? But there is, actually, and for horrible reasons. I don't discount it at all. Horrible reasons why there has to be mesothelioma advocacy. Complete corporate negligence. But maybe not the best film history source. Cultural fascination. This is a big piece of the virality of the asbestos, right? The asbestos thing is viral partially because you look at this peaceful scene with the snow falling on Dorothy, and then you think, that's asbestos, right? Historical context, we do know that asbestos was used in other films. That's worth something. That speaks to the plausibility, right, of the claim. It doesn't prove it. It's not direct evidence, but it shows plausibility. And there's very few primary sources on this subject, right? So again, this is a map. This is like a map of the evidence. This is a map of the sources. And what I'm trying to get at here is a different way that we could be using these tools, right? This is not a back and forth. This is not my friend. This is not an expert, right? This is not an information smoothie. This is the ingredients. We're going shopping for the ingredients, maybe to make our own information smoothie. But we're going shopping. We're keeping this stuff separate. We're showing, right? We're showing stuff like the structure of expert opinion. We're teaching it how to do this stuff, right? It's the idea of putting you in the driver's seat. It's the idea that this is not going to sort of puree your result for you, right? It's going to go out. It's going to get you the ingredients. It's going to label the ingredients. It's going to map out the ingredients. It may even give you the start of a recipe, right? The start of a recipe. But you're going to, I'm going to switch metaphors here. I'm talking about smoothies. You're going to bake the cake, right? You're going to bake the cake. You're going to make the dinner, right? It's there to help you. It's there to show you the best of what everybody has thought about this issue. It's there to surface all the evidence that you need to come to your conclusion, right? But it's not there. It's not there as the voice of God. It's not the Star Trek computer. And that's what I want to do with this technology. I keep on mixing metaphors, but it comes down to this. I see in this technology a way that we can make use of, again, the best of what people have thought, the evidence that we're not seeing, the connections that we're missing. And we can put that together. But this can help us. And I just think it's a fundamentally different view than what's out there. And for me, it's a much more attractive view. It's a much more human view. And I think a more inspiring view. So thanks for listening.